Hey, what's up and hello. This is the Chris Nicole bringing you my views on life, love, and the world of entertainment through my eyes. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time you are watching this live. Hello, crew. Hope all is well. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in. I am starting a little earlier today because your girl got stuff to do this evening. So let's get to it. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Joseph. Hey, Liz. Hope all is well. Let me start off by saying that production is pissing me off. Let me just start off by saying that they're pissing me off. I'm over it. I think they think that we are stupid or they're just lazy. But with that being said, another thing that I need to say is Texas, y'all looking bad out here. Y'all looking bad. Okay. It does not look good. All right. It just doesn't look good for y'all when it comes to Texas right now on this show. But with that being said, this is my review on Life After Lockup, Love After Lockup. And this is episode 18. Karma's coming. Okay. Karma is coming. Make sure you guys again hit the like button on the way in. And we are going to start off with Laticia, aka Latifa and Keith. All right. Latifa, and Keith. So again, we know that Latifa has been in a lot of trouble. There is definitely court documents showing that she's in trouble. Now, to what extent, how nervous she is, how much anxiety she has over it, I don't know. But what we do see is definitely Keith exercising, making his little scrambled eggs and bacon and whatnot. And she is paranoid trying to talk to her attorney, and her attorney is not answering the phone. So at that point, she starts talking about how, this has been hard for her and how, she just can't fathom necessarily leaving her kids and leaving Keith since she just got out, because at the end of the day, would Keith wait for her? The answer is no. He's not going to wait for you, okay? It's just not going to happen, all right? So at this point, she's like, I'm just nervous. And he said, oh, I understand, babe, but, can you take me to my daddy's community center? Because, he want to hang out or whatnot. She's like, all right, then, fine. I'll take you before I go to work. Work in that outfit. Let me tell y'all something. I don't care if you're an entrepreneur. Wearing booty shorts and a freaking suit jacket does not mean that's professional. It's booty shorts. Okay. So when she said work, I said, honey, it's clearly not work where it requires a W-2. Does she feel like she's allergic to a W-2? Is she allergic to that? Is she allergic to like a bi-weekly or a weekly or even monthly check? Honest living? Is she allergic to that? So at that point, she ends up taking Keith to his dad's community center. His dad also was in prison, and he now does a community center for the youth. And he's talking to Keith about, what is going to happen if she ends up going to prison. He can't really answer that. In my opinion, he didn't give a solid answer, because his answer is going to be, well, I'm going to move on with my life and find me another woman, in my opinion. So then at this point, we see Miss Thing sees work as having her laptop out at a coffee shop. And she says she tired of being in a corporate building at this point with employees. Honey, you can't afford a corporate building at this point with employees. And as far as I see, that was all fake for show anyways. So she's at a coffee shop. She meets with her cousin. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, randomly, the attorney calls her back. And she walks outside of the coffee shop. And then, of course, she makes it seem like paparazzi is following her. She's like, okay, you guys, no more filming, no more filming. I have to speak to my attorney. Honey, your mics are still on. So when your mics are still on, you are still recording regardless, okay? It's still on. So she walks away, and then at that point, the episode goes off. Look, I don't wish jail on anyone. But at the end of the day, I am a civilian who follows the law. And at the end of the day, if you break the law, if you potentially have been frauding people, scamming people, stealing from people, at the end of the day, honey, you're going to have to pay a price. if any of this is true. Now, from my understanding, she could be facing like 15 years. Did I hear that correctly? 15 years? So yeah, they got receipts on something, boo. This ain't a slap on the wrist. So as much as I don't want to see you go to prison, I don't want to see you because you do have daughters that you have to take care of. Yeah, I mean, if this stuff is true, I just don't know what to tell you. So I'm going to move on to Justine and Michael. So, Justine and Michael, Lord have mercy. So they end up making their way to New York City. All right. And interesting enough, again, production, which I'm not going to trip over this, but let's be clear. Justine and Michael were in the same hotel as Tia and Rob was when they were staying with each other in Queens. Okay. That is the same hotel. I wouldn't even put it past them if that's the same freaking room. All right. So they end up going to New York. And interesting enough, Justine and her mom get along mighty fine when there's money involved. Did y'all notice that? She didn't have the, hey, how you doing? I just want to know if you're gonna come to my wedding. She didn't have none of that when her mother was there, when they was talking about money and talking about extravagant weddings and stuff like that. Even though Justine wants a champagne wedding on a water budget, she did not argue with her mother at all. She didn't feel uncomfortable with her mother at all. At that particular moment, she was happy to see her mother, especially when her mother was saying all of this stuff that she needs to get and she shouldn't be cheap on her wedding dress. Then we find out her mother spent $100,000 on her wedding. Couldn't be me. Baby, we could use that $100,000 to put a down payment on a home. Have you lost your freaking mind? And she said, Justine said her mother spent that money. So my educated guess, her husband didn't spend none of it. This was literally for Justine's mother. She wanted that big wedding. I hope she's still married. Now, she said this was in 2008. Okay, and things was much cheaper in 2008. So can you imagine $100,000 wedding for one day? $100,000? But move on. So at this point, we end up going to this palace, and this place looks familiar. I'm wondering, it could be in Queens, but it could be Staten Island or Long Island too. I don't know, but I'll say this. His father, let's talk about this, you guys, because I don't know if you guys remember their backstory, but of course we know that Mike was in prison for some time, for his street activities. And do y'all remember when he actually said that his father, when he was in prison, didn't come to see him and wasn't really around? Put a 1 in the chat if you guys remember when Mike said something like that about his father. Put a 1 in the chat if you remember that. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't. But put a 1 in the chat if you remember that when he got out and he finally saw his father, he was kind of annoyed that his father didn't come and visit him or do any of that. Let me know. Put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat, because I'm about to go somewhere with this and I don't care, but it seems like this may be the case. So I didn't know that his father is, I think he said is Guyanese, if I'm not mistaken. I guess he's Indian, but Guyanese. And I guess his mother is Dominican or something of, I'm assuming. Especially with the food that she made. That looked like straight up Dominican food that one time when she made them breakfast in the morning. But anywho, with that being said, his father has extravagant taste. The father has extravagant taste. So he pretty much shows them this beautiful, and I mean, it was beautiful, this beautiful venue that almost looked like a palace inside. And at this point, we hear from Mike that he says his father is bougie. So he know the place is expensive. Now, interesting. Your father has expensive taste. He seemed to have been around when you was making all of that street money. But now when you was in prison and that money wasn't flowing in, your daddy wasn't around. Quite interesting. Quite interesting. Now, I understand the father was crying, trying to make it seem like, he just couldn't see his son being in there. But father seems to be very money driven. It just kind of feels that way. Sorry to say. And interesting enough, the father is making it seem like this type of money is no big deal. I mean, I know you're not going to say no to her. I know you're not gonna say no to her. Like it's nothing. Like, I mean, shoot, on my side alone, it's easy like 250 people for the wedding. Um, Sir, it seems to me that you are trying to front for a family and you ain't gonna be footing these bills at all whatsoever. Yeah, it seems like you feel like Mike may be an ATM. Sorry. Sorry, it's giving me those vibes, and y'all let me know how y'all feel about that. But it just seems like the father's trying to get a come up any way he possibly can to make it seem like his family is living this extravagant life, but he ain't putting no money on it. And the only one who seems to have some sense in this situation is Mike, because after they see the penthouse and the venue and everything, they sit down at dinner and the mother's like, yeah, you got to have the centerpieces, you got to have the food, you got to tip people. And Mike is like, this is sounded insane. And Justine says, well, I'll pay for my part. For how? How you gonna pay for your part? He's like, what are you talking about? Pay for your part? He was like, the dress, my family. I'm like, you mean your mama gonna pay for it? You mean your mama? Yeah, I think it's your mama that's about to pay for it because you ain't about to pay for nothing. That's why you so quick to be all nice and, oh, yeah, we're getting along about this, because anytime she's willing to write that checkbook for you, you don't have an issue with your mama. See, I'm starting to think that you play these games with, oh, I'm so sad me and my mother don't have a good relationship until that checkbook comes out. And then you're like, my mother is the best mother in the world. Huh, Justine? Maybe that's the case. With your fake faux fur that you had on, I could not believe she had that freaking chia pet of a freaking fur that she had on her freaking head and her body. Was it skunk, raccoon, dyed it in black or something? Because there ain't no real fur. So, anywho, with that being said, Mike gets so stressed out. He walks out. And he said, you paid for the dinner. That's what you could pay for. You paid for the dinner. And so the father's like, he's stressed out, but he'll come around. Y'all really think, and this is the problem, Mike has definitely seen he has been the breadwinner his whole entire life, always making money for his family, that they really just constantly have his hands out. And no one is asking him like, yo, can you even afford this? Can you even afford this? And you guys know there's always that family that feel like, oh, that rich family member always got it, or the one with money always got it. And I always want to show people that this family member, my blood, got this. And I want to look good because I can't afford it, but they can't afford it. That's what Mike's father's giving me. That's what Mike's father's giving me. And Justine, again, honey, yeah, I don't know what money you think you have, but at the end of the day, I don't think you need this extravagant wedding. Period. Period. You could do much more with that money, especially with 9 kids. Isn't it 9 at this point? With 9 kids. So, yeah, with that being said, I'm going to move on. Oh, you know how one side of the family is bougie, other side is hood. Michael's father's side would be the bougie side of the family. I say they bougie and hood. See, the thing is, I feel like that side of the family, especially his father's side, I don't think they come for money. I think he likes to spend money, but he don't come for money. Because if he was that bougie and had that type of money, then why don't you drop the money, sir? You drop the bags for this. You drop it. That'll be an apology situation for not visiting your son the whole entire time he was in prison. But let me move on to Zeruiah, Zuzu, aka Blue Launch, and Troy. All right, y'all. This was definitely a sad and also a weird situation. I'm not going to even lie. It was kind of weird. So, Zuzu actually does take her friend from Brooklyn to Buffalo with her. And pretty much I was like, she probably got her as a bodyguard because she afraid somebody gonna sit up there and possibly fight her. And even they laugh in the car, and she kind of implies that she there to kind of be security. So at that point, it looks like Yona, his baby mama, she literally decided to allow little Troy to at least stay a night, because we saw him in a whole different outfit and at night saying that, he's worked it out with the baby mama and where they could drop off and pick up or whatever the case may be. So I was like, all right then, cool. So we end up seeing them literally, which editing, production, get it together. Why would you even show us that scene before the actual memorial? It looked kind of weird, as if you always had her and you was just doing that scene to make it seem like you hadn't seen your daughter. I'm gonna need production to get it together. But anywho, going back to the memorial for his father. Zuzu gets there on time, and of course, naturally, it has to be about her. It has to be about her. So even though the family is there, she says, Troy, talking about to little Troy, Troy, can I borrow your father for a minute? Thank you. And then he's like, what's up, baby? You pregnant? And I was like, this has to be a production scene, because I'm just thinking, like, why would he randomly say that? And she's like, yes, I actually am. I'm pregnant. And so they hug. And at that particular point, she didn't look pregnant, but baby, in that confessional, that she had the pregnant face. She had the pregnant face, like everything, like the nose and all of that stuff. You could tell she was super pregnant in that confessional. So at this point, congratulations to them. Yeah, that's the only thing nice I can say. Congratulations to them on being pregnant. So with that, he ends up talking about his father, and this is where the weird part comes in. Troy takes his father's ashes and starts rubbing them on his head, his face, around his body. Like he truly did a Jaguar Wright moment. I mean, literally. And if you guys know that Jaguar Wright moment where she took her son's ashes and started putting them all over her face. Look, I understand he was emotional, but I was like, this is weird. This is very, very weird. And I understand he was saying his father's always going to be with him or whatever. It was a sad scene. You could tell this was the first time he's really been able to grieve his father's death, because he wouldn't be able to cry like that, in jail. But it's that type of pain that, you just lose your strength and it like buckles your knees. And that's where he was. He was truly in that moment. And you could see the ashes on his head. And then she literally, Zuzu, had to speak with the aunt, and the aunt and her went over there together. It was almost like, I don't know. I don't know if it was weird to you guys, but I felt like she needed help to help him. It was kind of weird, but he's crying. It's really a sad scene, because he's like, I'm gonna be good. I promise I'm gonna be good. And his aunt is like, yes, baby. All he wanted you to do was be good. He wanted you to be a good person, or whatever the case may be. So at that point, Troy's just like, I'm gonna be good. I'm sorry. He's apologizing to Zuzu. He's just in his emotions. And the cutest scene is when his daughter came up. It's like, Daddy, you okay? That almost just had me. That had me. I was like, oh, not the baby. The baby, like, Daddy, you okay? Like, oh my gosh, it was just such a sweet, tender moment. And he was like, I'm all right, beautiful. I'm gonna be all right. But that was such a sweet moment. It seems to me, clearly, little Troy, as much as him and the baby mama can't get along, it does not seem like this little girl has really gotten bad vibes of her, bad things about her father. The way she seems to be very loving and doting towards him, as much as he wants to assume that the baby mama is talking mess, it doesn't appear that way, at least the way we have seen this little girl. This little girl seems very just loving when she sees her father. Now, I don't know if there have been things that have been said when it comes to Zeruiah. We clearly know his mama said crazy stuff about Zeruiah in front of that child. But when it comes to him, she seems like she doesn't have any hesitation when it comes to her daddy, which I love. You know what I'm saying? But yes, Troy definitely does need therapy. But guess what? Zeruiah need therapy too. They need separate therapy, and then they need couples therapy, because Zeruiah got her own issues. So she definitely need therapy. Troy need therapy. His whole family need therapy. It's given generational curse at this point. But at the end of the day, it was a very emotional scene. And he just didn't know how to process it. So I guess the whole point of him putting the ashes on him, because he actually was going to take the rest of his ashes and put them in the water. But yeah, ashes around, I don't know. That gives me like ritual witchy vibes. If I could be quite honest, it just kind of gives me those vibes. But with that being said, I'm definitely going to pray for Troy and his healing in the situation, and hope that he continues to have a great relationship with his daughter. So on that note, we're going to move on to Bianca and Daniel. Bianca and Daniel. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Hit the like button for your girl, please. I really feel bad for Bianca. Like, this girl, I used to roll my eyes every time I saw her the last season, but literally this time around, I feel so bad for her. So at the end of the day, of course, we do have this whole setup scene with them still at the place, the restaurant. And I just feel like she's a typical 24-year-old. And if, let's just be honest here, because I can't stand when people have this type of know-it-all mentality, and like they've never been heartbroken before, ever been played before. Like, we got to stop that nonsense. Because at the end of the day, Bianca to me is your typical 24-year-old. She fell deep for all of the words and the lovey-doveys, had the money to move, and he used her. But even in this moment, after he did that wink and everything else, she literally tells production that she still feels like Daniel actually loved her, but she's happy this happened 5 months in versus being married and a kid and everything else. Baby, he never loved you. He doesn't even love himself. So at this point, after he does the wink and stuff, and she was like, this is just like verbally abusive. And then he was like, yeah, like, of course, because he doesn't care. So interesting enough, though, he's the one who gets super emotional, because I must say she kind of got her little get back at this point, because she said, well, I mean, what if I want to bring a guy over or whatever the case may be? And he was like, how about you leave? And she was like, I'm not leaving. She was like, how are you going to pay the rent? How are you, like, can you afford the rent by yourself? He's like, no, but I can get someone. And she was like, who? People from prison? And I was like, that's what I'm talking about, Bianca. I said, get them back, girl. So then at that point, she said, I could buy a whole bunch of liquor. I can buy a whole bunch of alcohol and tell your PO, and your PO will force you to move out. And he was like, I don't care, do it. And he was like, and this just proves that you're a dishonest person. Sir, you've been dishonest since you started talking to her in prison. So let's not go there about dishonesty, shall we? No. We're not going to do that, because let's be clear. You told her you've been playing her from the beginning. So don't get mad now that she all of a sudden wants to give you some get back after you said you pretty much used her and played her this whole entire time. She has the advantage. She has the money, and she doesn't have the record. Okay? She does not have the record. So then at that point, he gets upset. And he storms off, and he thinks it's funny talking to production like, I can't be around her. And it's always her. It's her fault. I'm like, no, Daniel, it's not always her fault. You're just trying to blame her because you don't want to admit the fact that you're a user, you're a narcissist, you're an addict, and everything else combined. So of course he's trying to rush back to get his free food, because at the end of the day, there's no way that he could afford food like that if it wasn't for production paying for it or Bianca paying for it. So then at this point, we end up seeing later on that Bianca moves back to Florida. But before she moves back to Florida, she ends up finding out that, yes, he was cheating on her from the beginning, talking to like over 100 girls. And when she finally called him on it, of course, he's trying to play victim, telling her that she a POS or whatever the case may be, and to F off. I will say this. If you look at the way Bianca looked when she was in Arizona, and then how she looked when she got back to Florida, she seemed much happier. She didn't seem as dark. She seemed like there was so much weight lifted off of her. When she ended up getting back to Florida, she ended up talking to that same friend that she said was possibly jealous of her. She came back with her tail tucked between her legs and literally was saying how, yeah, well, you were right. Daniel played me. He played me from the beginning. He never loved me. He used me because I had the money and he was able to get an apartment in his name, a car in his name. He got set up lovely because of me. There was never no love there. And I said, finally, Bianca, that is the first step that you realize at the end of the day, you got played. And everybody plays the fool sometimes. And that's just what it is. She was like, it's a lesson. It's no love or whatever the case may be. It's a lesson and I'm over it. But she does say that, I attract, or she's attracted to toxic people, toxic men, toxic relationships. And I'm like, you need to dig deep into that. Because there's a lot of people out there who are like that, but they need to look within on why they're attracted to that. Did she ever do the work that she needed to figure that out? I don't know. What I do know is apparently she is literally in another relationship and she is actually pregnant. So at the end of the day, I do not know if, she worked on herself, but the fact that she was able to admit she got played and she attracts toxic people and she always wants to be in a relationship with toxic people, that is the first step, admitting that you have things to work on, versus Daniel, who was just trying to blame it on her. And production says, well, is there anything you want to tell Daniel? And she was like, your karma's coming. You either going to be back on the substances, locked up, homeless, whatever case may be, your karma's coming. Baby, next thing you know, we see this fool. This fool is in prison. Okay. He is literally in prison, locked up. Looked like he almost had like a faded black eye, saying that, he got drunk and his probation officer got upset. And now he's in a 90-day program and pretty much he messed up his life. And I was like, well, it is what it is. Your karma has come, and that doesn't mean that your karma is over either. So that's what you get for thinking that, being this user and villain on here. Now, here's my thing. You do have people who do this consistently, who are in prison, and they end up being with people that they can use. But the way that he went about doing it, it was like he purposely wanted to be the villain. He purposely wanted to break her. He purposely calling her all these B words and everything else. It was just sick at a certain point where he was just like, oh, I use you, but I'm going to abuse you at the same time. And for me, especially with her being so young, it's kind of like, sir, yeah. But now here's the thing. The ones who don't pretend like they using these people, they get their karma too. But it's the way that he went about it that did not sit right with me. But I'm glad that she is hopefully happy. She said she was trying to look for a career. She was trying to look for a career to see what she's passionate about. But now she's pregnant. So I'm like, did you ever find your passion? Or is your passion just trying to find a man that loves you and you can have a baby? So I'm hoping she gets herself together. I really do. Let me see what you guys are saying. Yeah, Bianca ended up being someone that I felt really bad for. Have to look. Well, yeah, I mean, I understand it that a lot of them avoid halfway houses. I totally get it. But at the same time, the way that he went about it, it wasn't good. It was not good. So straight, what does the whole Jennifer have to do with anything? The Jennifer for basketball was? What does that have to do with anything? Because I mean, look, let's be clear. Basketball wise, we talking about Jennifer. I mean, did she really love that man? Probably not. She was using him too. I feel like at the end of the day, a lot of people use people. Is when you misuse people that it becomes an issue. He misused her. He had no intentions of being with her at all whatsoever. And it's just the way that he did it on national TV. Yeah, he's going to get his karma. As annoying as Bianca was, the fact that now people are on Bianca's side, it just shows you that what he did was super bad and it was super uncomfortable. So at the end of the day, yeah, he is a monster. He's a monster. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Well, guess what? I can on Insider, considering the fact that it's in my chat. I can be on the Insider. Thank you very much. So, Joseph, you can tell me what's going on since Teep want to act up. Anyways, moving on to the next couple, Brooke and JK. Brooke and JK. And his name is James Keith. I think she said his whole name because I was trying to figure out what did JK represent. But JK represents, I think, James Keith. So Brooke and JK, child, Texas, y'all looking bad out here. Elizabeth, I think you from Texas. Joseph, are you from Texas or are you from Georgia? I feel no, Joseph, you from Georgia. Leo is from Texas, right? Yes, Brooke and JK, Brooke and JK. So, with that being said, let's get on to this nonsense. First of all, they said that Alex is from Mart, Texas. Mark, Texas. Okay. And I looked that up, and bro, can't nothing be between y'all on my stuff. Like, no. Sorry, that it don't work like that. That's the whole point of live chat. Y'all want an inside thing? Y'all can do y'all inside and DM each other if y'all want an inside thing. You know what I'm saying? That's what y'all can do. But back to Mark, Texas. Mark, Texas got less than 2,000 people. 2,000 people in the town. And something tells me that most of those people in that town don't look like me. I'll just say that. And something tells me there is not one nice section of that town. Not one nice section of that town. And we could tell that by when he drives up to freaking Alex Trap House every single time. Because, baby, that looked like a trap house. That looked like a horror house. That looked like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre house, okay? Like that scene in Texas Chainsaw Massacre when he said, bring it. Then all of a sudden you hear the chainsaw and literally just start going back and forth. Yeah, that's what it was giving. That's what it was giving. So with that being said, child, he ends up rolling up big old puddle in front of the house like there was a flood that just happened. And he's like, hey, how you doing? She's like, what you doing here? And I'm like, girl, you knew he was going to be here. Production already had everything set up. And he was like, what you mean what I'm doing here? What you mean I'm doing here? He was like, you know why I'm here? You know why I'm here. And so at that point, she was like, no, I don't know why you're here. And he said, you pregnant? Because you don't look pregnant. I said, now that is shade. That is shade. You trying to say her stomach look like that all the time? What you mean she don't look pregnant? There are a lot of people who can hide their pregnancy. I said, oh, he trying to be real shady right there. And I said, oh, okay, we going there, huh? So then at that point, she was like, yes, I am. Yes, I am. I would be scared to go into that nasty house. Baby, the way it look on the outside, the way it looked on the outside, I said there is no way I would even think about going inside that house. But she was like, yeah, well, what is it to you? What is it to you? Why do you care? What does this have to do with you? And so at that point, she said, you want to see the picture? So she bring out the sonogram, and I said, we don't see not one name on that sonogram. We just see a flimsy little thing that she bring out. And so at that point, he said, well, when did you take this? And he was like, how long were you when you took this? It was like 7 weeks. And he started trying to count on his hands how long it's been, right? And so she was like, yeah, so that means October. Meaning that, yes, in October, they was humping and bumping. So then at that point, he started to freak out. And so then he was like, well, I mean, what's the chances? Like, for real, you know what I'm saying? What's the chances of, this baby be mine? Like, be for real. And she said, well, it could 50% be your baby. It could 50% be your baby. And I'm like, 50%? So that means you was humping and bumping and having freaky tales with another man unprotected. which was the one of the main reasons, if I'm not mistaken, why you and JK aren't together in the first place, because you was cheating on him while he was in prison. So you doing all of this crying and talking about how you not the other woman, you the woman, you every woman, and you clearly keep coming back here because you in love with me. You doing all of this, and you talking about that could 50% be his baby. Okay. All right. And so she says, now I'm about to have this blessing, and you don't need to be involved because you weren't involved when I lost the first one. So I'm going to do this fine on my own and have this blessing on my own. You are about to have more debt on your own because, child, you got kids in that home that look like a trap house. Now, I understand some people going to say shelter is shelter, but I would say that people, when they have kids, want their babies in the best place possible to raise. So she starts crying, or fake crying, because I didn't see no tears, child. She started crying and literally it's like, I don't want to talk to you, JK. I don't want to talk to you. Meanwhile, Brooke keeps calling him. Brooke keeps calling him, and she's like, James Keith, you better sit up there. Beep. Oh no, I'ma get him. I'ma unalive her. I'ma get him. Why he keep on hanging up the phone when I'm trying to leave him a message? Then she said, you know what? She said, I'm about to go over to Alex's house. I'm about to go over to Alex's house. Cause at the end of the freaking day, she know what's up. She know what's up. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna pull up at her house. She done found out once, she can find out again. Find out what? If you gonna fight her again, at least pull your hair all the way back in a bun so tight that she can't drag your hair and pull you down to the ground and slap you. And I'm like, where do you get that you won that fight? Now, I ain't gonna say that to me, it wasn't really a fight. All them little slappity paps, that wasn't a fight to me. But at the end of the day, she did get you on that ground. She did do that. So I don't know why you feel like pulling up to her house is gonna make anything different, especially now that she got this baby. Now, of course, JK is saying he not gonna tell Brooke. Now, my question to y'all is, do you think Alex is actually pregnant? And I'm trying to figure out how you you lost the baby the first time, and then how soon after that did you get pregnant again? Do y'all actually think she pregnant? Because, I'm like, is this a legit sonogram? And then when he asked for a DNA test, she said that you can do a DNA test while the baby's still in you, but it would be risky. It would be risky, and the actual, I think she said the doctor, I forgot who she said. She said somebody wouldn't recommend it or wouldn't do it. Now, let me ask y'all ladies in the chat who have had babies. Is it risky to get a DNA test while the baby is in you? I need to know. I need to know, because I haven't heard it be that risky before, but maybe it is risky to actually do a DNA test while the baby's inside of you. Is it risky? Let me know. You have to leave your clothes outside when you get home so you don't get Kim. Not roaches. It do look like it's infested, though. I ain't gonna even lie. It look like it's infested with a couple of things. Alex, stop playing. You don't want the reason for JK to stay in your life. Exactly. They say it is, but not too risky. Okay. Okay. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Brooke can't be pulling to people's houses like that. She sure can't. Oh, hey, T Pretty. Hope all is well. I know I ain't been saying hi to y'all. I've been so busy talking. Hello to all of my crew. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Yeah, so Brooke is only pulling up to Alex, whether it's at a place or her house, because production is there. I just don't think that she would ever pull up to Alex's house unattended without production there, because of course we clearly know that Texas, you can carry. You can carry. So I don't think she's that stupid. She's only doing it because production is there. But at the end of the day, I don't know if she's pregnant. I don't know if she's pregnant, but the fact that she said so boldly, it's a 50% chance that it could be her baby, but then she crying, talking about how she is the woman. ma'am, clearly he's not the man because you sleeping with someone else. Like, what is going on out here in Mark, Texas? My Texas people, y'all looking bad right now. That's all I'm saying, honey. Y'all looking bad. So we going to have to see how this unfolds. My guess is Brooke is going to find out. But I, from my understanding, heard that apparently, allegedly, Brooke was pregnant too. So, child, when I tell you, I don't know who pregnant no more, who's not pregnant. Honestly, JK looked like he the one who's pregnant. He the one who looked like he got the beer belly. But at the end of the day, we'll have to see how this unfolds. But yeah, JK talk about he gonna take care of the baby. Sir, you what with what money? I'm shocked he even got that truck. I'm gonna guess that one of his parents helped him get that truck because I'm trying to figure out what type of money you got within a couple of months to be able to get that truck. But on that note, I'm going to move on to the last couple. The last couple. Quiana, Damodrick, Joella, aka Jumanji, aka Felicia Child. Now, this is when I said, you know what, production, I'm sick and tired of this nonsense, and y'all getting on my last nerve. Okay, so let's start off with the fact that they made it seem like Quiana was pulling up to her own house while Joella was still there. We clearly see in this episode that was not the case. But what I did notice in this episode, child, she starts off with saying that, look, I saw the ring and you was sitting up there outside, like, what was you doing? And so, of course, you know, he said, well, if it was me, I would have blew up the car. And she was like, at the end of the day, I need to know what's going on. And he says, what, you trying to put me back in jail, keep me away from my kids again? And she said, I was taking care of them. They was good. I said, wow. I was like, whoa. Like, what? Like, what? Like, that was kind of like, yeah, she almost seemed like she do want him back in prison. So then she said, well, you know what? I ain't the problem. She keeps repeating the same thing. I ain't the problem. You the problem. And I ain't dropping no charges until I figure out what's going on. Now, Exhibit A. Miss Thing had on her shirt inside out, tag, bold as I don't know what. Y'all see that tag in that white lettering? So let's be clear. Production have her come to Quiana's house, tell her to take her shirt off inside out so we see the freaking tag, okay? But then by the time she's coming out of the house, leaving, the tag is literally no longer there. And it's because she clearly had on a Nike shirt and they didn't want the logo to show. So they pretty much set this up and did lights, camera, action, and pretty much told her, before we do this scene, we're going to have you take your shirt and have it inside out. Okay? So this is what I'm saying with production playing. I'm over it. At the end of the day, how about y'all make this more realistic? Okay? Stop playing us. You sat up there and told her to purposely come over to the house knowing that Quiana wasn't going to be there and then had her do that with the shirt. Why didn't y'all tell her from the beginning to not have a logo on her shirt? That's how most people do it when they're filming. You have rules about what they can wear and can't wear. All right? So at that point, when she's leaving out, honey, we find out the Popos is following her, and the Popos is following her, and she's like, he was following the whole entire time. Meanwhile, we're back at Quiana's house, and production think we stupid again. And so any other time when it's something serious, remember, Quiana didn't have no problem taking off her mic and telling Damodrick to take off his mic. But this time she decides to go into the room and close the door, and you hear him say, what happened? Now, mind you, this acting at this point is to be Timu at its best. He's like, what happened? And so at that point, she's like, your baby mama is miserable as F. I swear she wants to be me so bad. That's kind of how she says it, y'all. I'm not exaggerating. Then she says, a Class B misdemeanor for criminal mischief? Why are you saying it like that? Like it's a question mark, like you're shocked. You just came from the attorney. So if someone says what happened, you're giving them the rundown about what happened, not having it like it's a question mark, like you're just discovering this in the room. It was giving a bad replay, bad acting, and I'm gonna need for y'all to get it together. It did not feel genuine. It did not feel real. It felt like production. You suck. And you are not going to get just random people from Lubbock, Texas to be able to reenact the scene to try to show how frustrated and mad they are. It flopped. A 3-year-old could have did a better job. But with that being said, we see the police again with Joella. And so we find out that Joella, she has warrants. Oh, wait. So she actually has warrants. And so we find out that apparently she had warrants because she was riding dirty, I guess, on a suspended license. But apparently she never did no time. But he pulled her over because this heifer had expired tags. So let me get this straight. You buying all of this Amazon stuff for your cosmetics, and you got $600 from your baby daddy to so-called replace those tires, but you cannot get your tags renewed? Hmm? Hmm? Help me understand, ma'am. Help me understand. All right. And so at that point, he was like, well, hold on. And she's like, I'm nervous. I said, well, I see why you nervous. You got you a class B misdemeanor and you want her to have one too. So then at that point, I guess he said he's going to cite her for 2 things, her expired tags and I think something else, but he said that she's free to go. So then at that point, child, we end up seeing, for whatever reason, Quiana in a whole new wig that she's curling with these flannel pants on. We don't know why that scene is there. We don't know what she's getting dressed for, prepared for. It's just a random scene with her having on a different wig and having curlers in her hair. She talking about she don't have time to do this and do that. And I'm like, well, where is she going? Because the next scene, we see her in her same wet and wavy burgundy wig. You know what I'm saying? Like, it literally, same wet and wavy burgundy wig. And I'm like, what was the point of that scene? What was the point of that scene? That scene literally had no purpose for anything, especially when we don't even know where she was going and why she was rushing and what was the point. But then we see them in this freaking shucky ducky quack quack cheap little mobile that they guess bicycling in the lake or whatever the case may be. And this is supposed to be some so-called date in the same wet and wavy burgundy wig she's had on. So then at this point, while they're out on their so-called date, a cheap date at that, I'm like, excuse me. I mean, you have WeTV right there. You could at least hook her out to dinner. What you got this little thing for? And what was the point? So then we see a PI go to Jumanji's house. Now, at this point, Quiana is crying because I think it's really hitting her that she could potentially be in some trouble. Now, I don't know if that is guilt because she's like, I took it too far and now this potentially can ruin my life, or she's frustrated because she is literally possibly about to be in trouble over something she didn't do over a man that's playing the both of them. Okay. So at this point, she's crying, and this fool sits up there and says, well, is there anything that I can do to, you know what I'm saying, help the situation? I'm like, yeah, you can like leave both of them alone and just be a dog on your own right and stop playing with both of them. Because see, you are the common denominator in this situation. If you was a man and you could just be honest and say that you rather hoe and not be in a legitimate relationship, then that would be perfectly fine. But you can't do that. So at the end of the day, you know, Quiana's talking about she need mental and physical support. I don't know where the physical support comes in at. I'm like, what's the physical support? Like, what physical support you need? Like, I'm confused about that. But either way, at the end of the day, she doesn't feel like she's being supported. You're not. You're supporting him because he was even bold enough to say, I'm not telling Quiana that Joella was at our house. Our house? Excuse me? Our house? Mm, let me see what bills you paying in there, sir. Let me see what bills you're paying. So a PI goes to Jumanji's house, Joela's house, and pretty much speaks to her about what's going on and saying, hey, are you willing to take a polygraph test? And so she says, well, who gonna fail, me or her? And I said, well, that's a good question. And the fact that you have to say that and you said that makes you even more suspect. Because if I know I'm not lying, I would not say, well, who gonna fail, me or her? Ain't gonna be no failing over here because I'm telling the truth and I'm trying to figure out. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the heck is going on? I need to know who did it between you or Damodrick. So the fact that she said that, I said, what is really going on with this girl? So then at that point, the PI says, well, look, Quiana has never been in trouble in the past. And so he's pretty much implying, of course, that Joella, she has some type of records on her, but Quiana doesn't. But one thing about it that Joella said that I agree with, just because someone doesn't have a record doesn't mean that they haven't done shady, illegal stuff. It just means they haven't been caught yet. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with her on that. But at the same time, my issue is that Joella is not letting this go. She's not letting this go. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's almost just like, what are you trying to get at this point? Because, and what it seems to me is she's mad because no one is taking her side, including Damodrick's family. Everybody is looking at her like she's the problem, and that's what's really making her upset. She didn't take her grandmother's advice. She didn't sit up there and say, I'm letting this go. You know what I'm saying? Like she didn't do it. So it's like you are truly holding on to this. And she almost walks away mad at the PI, like, you on her side, everybody on her side, everybody thinks she's this good girl. And I'm like, girl, you are really about to make yourself sick over this. She doesn't want to sign the affidavit, I guess, that he gave her to kind of let this go. And he was like, well, can you just come out here and talk to me again really quick or whatever? And she was like, look, at the end of the day, I want to meet with Quiana. Somebody need to pay for my cosmetics. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Because at one point you kept saying your tires. Now you want to add the cosmetics. And she's saying someone needs to pay for that or whatever. And so at this point, the PI says, I can arrange for you guys to meet up, but I can't promise you anything. And so I just feel like Joella, I don't know if maybe she wants an apology from Damodrick, admitting that he was playing her. I don't know if her main thing is to get to Quiana to pretty much say, he's playing you because he's been sleeping with me. Guess what, girl? Quiana already knows that. And guess what? She's not going to leave him just like you wouldn't leave him if it was the other way around. I don't know what she's getting at, but I just feel like she truly needs to get some counseling at this point, because she continues to keep this going and going and going. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if her glasses are crooked or her nose is crooked. You know, some people's facial structure can cause their glasses. So I was like, is her nose crooked? And, or is it, the glasses? I don't know. But I also feel like that wig is breaking her out, because she definitely has some breakout spots on her face. And I'll be like, girl, it's probably that synthetic wig that you don't ever wash. Like, it got to be something. But yeah, I didn't know if it was the glasses or the fact that her nose is kind of crooked. Why her glasses are like that. But either way, she's not letting this go. And when you can't let stuff like this go, whoo, child, good luck. Because at the end of the day, you got your car back. Your car is running. It's operating. I don't know why she keeps on pushing this. And I think it's because she wants to meet up with Quiana and she wants to potentially fight this girl or do something. But at this point, I really don't know who did this. It could be possible that Joella did this herself. It could be possible. But again, she worried about cosmetics. She worried about tires, but she ain't worried about them tags. And she even said that cop was following her the whole entire time. Yeah, because he was probably trying to run your place to make sure that you either just didn't put your new tags on or the tags were actually expired. Get your priorities straight. If those cosmetics ain't helping you pay for your tags, stop getting those cosmetics at this point and get your tags paid. Period. And I'm like, I don't know if them tires cost $600, but I'm like, how much tags cost on that car, especially in Lubbock, Texas? Like, I really need to know how much them tags cost. Because let me tell you something. Tags are expensive here. I know they're expensive other places, but that car, a lot of times your tags are expensive depending on how new the car is, the type of car it is. Some tell me they ain't that expensive, and some tells me that she ain't got her priorities straight. That's what it tells me. You think it's stress bumps? It's stress. It could be stress bumps. I think could be stress bumps. She definitely stressed out. This guy is making her sick. He's making her sick. And she won't let it go, even though her grandmother gave her word, like wisdom on top of wisdom. She ain't trying to hear it. She ain't trying to hear it. I don't know what she's trying to do, but when he said, you want me back in jail and away from my kids, and he was like, she said, well, I was taking care of them. They all right. It almost was like, dang, like it do seem like that's kind of like your plan. Like, okay, well, he ain't with me, so the best get back is to potentially put him back in prison and I can have peace of mind. That's the way it was coming off. And I'm like, that's some evil. Let me tell y'all something. When I say people gonna get their karma, I don't ever wish somebody going back to jail, especially on something like this. Now, if you do something crazy, that's one thing, but we do know there's crazy people out there who will lie and manipulate to get people back in jail. I don't play them games, just like I don't play and wish karma on people getting hurt. That is insanity, and you got to check your heart posture. And at this point, she seems cold, depressed, and I understand she got heartbreak. I understand she's hurt, but she's not letting this go, and it's ridiculous at this point. But that was the end of the episode. And Damodrick was talking about how, as long as they stay together, him and Qui, they gonna be all right. Girl, he playing you. I would like to know who's paying the bills. Now let me see what y'all saying in here. Let's see what y'all saying up in here. So $600 for tires for a car that looks like, exactly, Kim. Exactly. This is what I'm saying. I'm like, but you don't have tags. And she like, I need my car to take my kids around. I need my car to get to school. You potentially gonna always have the police pull you over because of them tags. I'm gonna need for you to have a safe car and a legitimate car on the road to protect your babies. That's what I'm gonna need for you to have. Whenever you think your life is bad, think of these folks. Jupiter, dang. Do you think low key though people watch this show because they like, well, my life may be kind of bad, but it ain't this bad? It makes you wonder that's the reason why people watch this show. But what I do know is production is getting lazy. That's what I do know. And I totally get and understand that you can't be having logos and stuff, but that's the whole point of telling people when they're about to be on a show to have certain outfits that don't have logos. But it's just the things that they're doing is not making any sense. Like the editing that they're doing, I'm like, what is going on here? She sure wasn't worried about the makeup. She was talking about them tires. And she was coming out of that car with all of these Amazon boxes. And she was like, not as much as these tires cost. But now she want to talk about the cosmetics. I think she just trying to get as much money as she can just to get stuff out of them. It ain't even about all of that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up. Because if that were the case, and if you was in that much of, if that's what it's about, get the priority straight and get those tags taken care of before the cosmetics. Clearly the cosmetics are not paying for the tags. They're not at all whatsoever. So yes, where they say, right, Chris, his dad probably bought the truck. Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. Let me see. House look like the Leatherface house. That's what I'm saying. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's exactly what it looked like. The investigator was asking so, and it didn't even look like they had like street lights. That I could not be in a place that don't have street lights. Like that place looked like if you don't have lights on in your house, there are no lights on the street. That's scary. That's scary. The investigator was asking some very inappropriate questions, which had nothing to do with the case. True, because he did ask, "Do you plan to get back with him?" And luckily she was smart enough to say, "What is that? What I got to do with anything?" And it's like, yeah, what does that have to do with anything? You know what I'm saying? Why do you leave your expense? You know what, your girl Bree, okay. I hate to say this, but is Amazon Cosmetics that expensive? She didn't look like she had she didn't look like she had the Mac. She didn't look like she had, you know what I'm saying, like the expensive stuff. No shade. But she didn't look like she had the NARS, the Max. She didn't have that. It looked like she gets stuff off of Amazon. Is that really expensive? And I'm asking for y'all who are like makeup extraordinaires, is that where y'all get y'all makeup? This show makes me feel like a saint. I tell you, people probably watch the show to say, well, my life ain't that bad. Thank you, Jesus. He ain't paying no. She said he ain't paying no child support, but was ready to pay 600 to keep Quiana out of trouble. Oh, that made her even more mad. That made her even more mad. But I bet you that 600 came from Quiana. She doesn't even have grass. The wig ages her horribly. Hate that for her. I think her face makes her age horribly. We haven't seen Jumanji smile not one time. She does not seem like a happy person at all whatsoever. $30 a box? Is that expensive? Because I know Mac Honey is expensive and NARS is expensive too. You could easily go out of those stores with a small bag of the foundation, you know what I'm saying, like the concealer and all that stuff with $100 easily. And that's just covering your face alone. So yeah, I don't know. She needs to keep practicing on her makeup application. You better say that again, honey, because when she said her business was makeup and I said this is a problem here, because if you do makeup, I'm going to need for your face to be beat to perfection, just like your client's face need to be beat to perfection. And that hair, but I ain't gonna say, Quiana apparently is a hairstylist and her hair don't be laid. So this is what I'm saying. Lubbock, Texas, y'all looking bad out here. Texas just looking bad. That Texas just looking bad. So at the end of the day, let me see, they are both miserable, wasting their youth on, yeah, they are. They are. And even that grandmother said that. He playing both of y'all. Her ill wholesale box wasn't expensive. That barely resales. You can't tell me Joella is purchasing products from Fenty or Sephora, maybe Maybelline. Look like Amazon. We know an Amazon Prime box when we see one. That was Amazon boxes. So this is what I'm saying. So she applying cheap makeup also on her freaking clients' faces. She probably only charging about $30-$40 for makeup application. She probably getting them fake plastic lashes. She doing all of that. She not doing the high end stuff. She's probably not. But with that being said, you guys, let's continue the conversation about this episode. But yeah, how do y'all feel about production? Production, I just feel like they're getting so lazy because they know that they have a cult following for this show that they don't care at this point. You know what I'm saying? Nope, I would have to disagree with you on that because I have hairstylists in my family. And let me tell you something. Even if they don't do their actual hair, they always got a wig that is around their house that slays and is laid. So I cannot agree on that one. I have definitely seen hairstylists because again, they may not have a chance to do their own hair, but they know how to get that wig that they actually did on their own and put it on their head and be ready to go and have a night out on the town after they sit up there and do everybody's hair that night. So again, a good hairstylist knows how to improvise and go out there with their hair laid. The wig laid, something gonna be laid. They getting lazy. It feels like extra low budget. Yes. Yes, it does. Production is messy and I love them for it. Is it messy or is it lazy? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it messy? Like, we don't mind messy. That's why we watch the show. But some of this stuff is just downright lazy at this point. And I'm like, y'all think we stupid. Production is definitely not doing the work like they used to help hide the cracks. Right. Right. V Baby said, my mom is a hairstylist. She stay on point. Yeah. The hairstylists, the people that I know who do hair, even my hairstylists, they got wigs all over. They have, and if they either can sell them wigs or they will put that wig on their head to go out on night on the town, even if their hair is just braided down, because of course they've been doing hair all day. But yeah. I know, cause lay some hair but have a nest on top of theirs. They probably got a nice wig somewhere though that they can put on there if they go out. They probably got a wig somewhere that's laid, and you know that lace is lacing. They probably do. But with that being said, you guys, thank you guys so much for listening and actually coming in earlier, because usually around this time is the time that I actually start the live. But I got stuff to do tonight. You know what I'm saying? Your girl got stuff to do. So I appreciate the support, of course. Please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate my crew coming in and clowning and us having our back and forth and whatnot. Y'all, let me know what y'all thought about this episode. If I had to rate it, I would give it a C. It was all right. It was all right. Hopefully we get some better episodes later on, but please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you on my next video. Toodles.